Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to talk about transit.
Good morning.
And I just turned the mic off. Did I just turn them? No, there we go. Okay. Good morning. My name is Renuka Kristoff. I'm Chief Communications Officer with We Go Public Transit. And I'm excited to talk about transit this morning and mobility and what we can do better and what you like. So I'm going to be very brief with opening remarks, and I just want to share with you that we've got these QR codes. They're also located at our table out in the hallway, but if you scan this, please give us feedback on your thoughts about public transit. And in addition to that, we're launching a new campaign where we want to encourage route exploration, and so we're going to have folks promoting it on Nextdoor app and social media, and we'd love for you to be transit advocates and share about bus routes that you ride on and fun things that you like to do on your bus routes. So just scan this QR code and give us your feedback. Thank you. And I'm going to hand it over to Jessica Dauphin, who is a board member with We Go Public Transit, and more.
Thank you, Renuka. I love We Go Public Transit. They're doing a great job, and that's kind of why we're here today. I don't know if that works, but let's see if this does. Okay. My apologies, but I do not like being stuck behind a dais, a lectern, a podium, or what. So, my name is Jessica Dauphin. I'm the president and CEO of the Transit Alliance of Middle Tennessee. We serve the 10 counties, in the 20 counties. Our one mission is to raise awareness and build support for funding regional transit. I gave a TEDx at one point on transit and transportation, and in it I say individual freedoms are directly tied to mobility, and I don't think enough people understand what I mean when I say that. So before we get started, I want to introduce Madeline Roberson, my co-presenter, and she's going to tell you who she is and why she's here, and then we're going to get started.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, like Jessica said, I'm Madeline Robertson. I am with Network for Sustainable Solutions, and our mission is to connect people, organizations, nonprofits, for-profits, businesses, you name it, to each other to accelerate sustainable action. So this is definitely part of that work. We have partnered with Transit Alliance to do these listening sessions to hear from the community on what you guys want. We hope to bring about a plan and a project to put those things in place. So I want to just get started here with a little backstory. Toss it back over to Jessica to tell you guys about that.
Thank you. So I want you to understand why you're here and why we're doing this. It's been 5 years since Nashville went to the ballot for its first and only transit funding referendum called Let's Move Nashville. Okay. Since then, there hasn't really been a lot of talk about funding transit or any transformative mobility infrastructure. So the Transit Alliance was tired of waiting, and we've devised a plan to go into the communities and talk to you to build a community-driven conversation about mobility and infrastructure, come up with some community prioritized projects, and then so we can suggest and support community-first investments in our mobility in Nashville. So the plan is to meet with at least 400 Nashville residents, understand the values of our neighbors, understand mobility challenges that we're facing right now, and collective list of projects to deliver NDOT, to WeGo, and to the new mayor once they are elected later this year. So you're going to be having some conversations. That's what the notepads are on the table for with their Sharpie. So go ahead, just a table scribe to write down your ideas as you brainstorm and discuss. We're going to be voting on priorities here, and we're going to be listening to you about your core values, and I think that's coming up next. Any questions about what we're here to do today? Okay, just real quick, I've seen a number of elected officials roaming the halls. Are there any with us right now? Hi.
I'm late. I was supposed to introduce these guys and say hello. I'm a volunteer today more than I'm an elected official. But they introduced themselves, so thank you guys for that. Just wanted to touch on a few points and highlight WeGo and really thank them as the sponsor for this session. They've been very involved with Neighbor to Neighbor over the years, from this event also to their Good Neighbor Day Festival. And so really wanted to highlight WeGo and thank them and think about that. So as we close today, I'll have, you guys have been to a few sessions already. As we close today, we'll have some information. Oh, and also I'm Brandon Taylor. I serve District 21 and also as a volunteer, and in my actual day job, I do fundraising consulting, and I work with Neighbor to Neighbor in a fundraising consulting capacity. And so glad that you all are here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. So now I'm going to hand it back to Madeline, and we're going to get rolling. Get your smartphones out. There's going to be a QR code for you to take a little Mentimeter survey, and all of your responses are going to aggregate into this cute little word cloud in front of you.
Yeah, so like Jessica said, scan the QR code. We just want to get to know you all and your priorities and your values. It's really helpful for us in developing this plan. So if you could just go type in a couple core values, and by that we mean like your personal core values, not as it relates to transit. Awesome, we got some good ones already. Equity, connection, liberty, justice, friendship. Love that. Equity is still the biggest thing. I love it. That's part of why we're doing this too, is to make sure this transit plan is equitable for everyone. We want to get a really good representative size of Nashville. Equity, connection, safety, ease of navigation. Love that. Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. All right, so I believe this is the part where we discuss amongst our tables. We have a little chat to propose to you all. If you would discuss in your table groups, or if there's only a couple of you, if you would merge with a table close to you so you have a good group of people to discuss with. And like Jessica said, elect one person to scribe on the big yellow sticky notes. That would be awesome. We would love to know from you all what your immediate mobility challenges are that you are facing right now. We'll have about 8 to 10 minutes to discuss on that.
But the more specific you can be, the better. So if you're like, well, when I leave my house at 7:30, I'm trying to get somewhere at this particular intersection, it's always packed up as well, and someone's always blocking their eyes. Or traffic is really all of a sudden going really fast on my neighborhood street. Right? So we're looking for something pretty specific. Remember, I'm taking these to NDOT and WeGo brainstorm. There's really no right or wrong here. We're going to also be talking about bigger infrastructure projects. So we'll get to that conversation too, but in general, kind of lack of access to reliable transportation. I don't know if it's one. That is a mobility challenge. You know people who are experiencing that, so you may not, but you understand that community-wide. Good question, though. Good question. If you need any other clarification, just flag me down. Yeah, stuff like that. I heard you mention about you guys that are common, so I know that struggle. Okay, that's one too. Services, bus access there you go.
Well, even then, it would say we're going to balance.
All right, everyone, we got 3 minutes left to discuss this question. 3 minutes left. All right, if we can wrap up our final thoughts, I would love to have one member from each group share just a few, maybe 2 to 3 things that they talked about with the group. We'll pass around the microphone. We can start over here with this group. Who wants to share from this group? Okay.
So our group talked about a number of issues.
Okay. Able reporting out, if we could give her our attention. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mindy, and our table talked about a number of issues, including there's a lack of walkability. We noticed in our, I'm sorry? Really? Okay, there's a decrease in walkability in our neighborhoods, especially in areas that don't have sidewalks, like in the Antioch Priest Lake area. There's some safety issues with people who are walking along streets that don't have sidewalks and they have very narrow shoulders. We talked about connected grid. Just the idea that in the downtown areas we have sidewalks, but they may end, and there may be a section with no sidewalks. So there's not a connected grid of areas where people can walk and get to where they're going. We've noticed an increase in aggressive driving in the Nashville area over at least the past few years. That's a challenge to deal with. There seems to be a lack of enforcement of safety. With the aggressive driving, with the lack of the police force or the decreased resources, their priorities are focused on other things, understandably, and not necessarily reinforcing safety issues with driving. And traffic calming has only become available in the last few years, but it's a struggle to get it in your neighborhoods. We have a couple here who tried to get traffic calming in their neighborhood, and because people are racing down their street, flying down their street, and another section of their neighborhood got the speed bumps, but they did not. So now it's probably increased the traffic on their road of people speeding. In our neighborhood, we tried for many years to get the speed humps or tables or whatever, and we're not able to. So people are just kind of flying through our neighborhoods. There's a concern with emergency vehicles. So there's some sections in the downtown area that have been am I taking too long? Okay, that have become so narrow due to the creation of bike lanes and people parking on both sides of the streets and those kinds of issues that it's only really a one-way street. It's a two-way street, but only one vehicle can get down it. Also, there's concern with if we put in safety bumps or humps or tables, if that would prohibit an emergency vehicle from being able to get to their destination quickly enough.
Awesome, thank you. All right, we'll go to this table.
Hi, I'm just going to summarize some of the things that we talked about. But my group, we talked a lot about buses. One of those was that the bus lines don't often run late enough or often enough to match like real needs of the community. So matching with work schedules that fall outside of the 9 to 5, or having to wait an hour in between buses, it makes doesn't really incentivize riding the bus. Always, if you have a car, it feels like a free, even though cars are very expensive to maintain, it feels like in the moment like a free option rather than paying for the bus and then having to like maybe missing it and having to wait another hour. Let's see, we talked about kind of those choppy sidewalks, not having that continuous connected grid. I live in one of probably the most walkable neighborhoods in Nashville in 12 South, and my street, Kirkwood, is like, it's just like a car race down the street, and I feel like I'm gonna get hit by a car like every day I walk down there. So lack of those sidewalks, and continuing on that with the buses, often people have to walk a considerable distance to get to the nearest bus stop, and there's a lack of adequate infrastructure in a lot of cases, like crosswalks or those buttons you can press with creating like an instant red light or flashing signage or something, like being able to safely walk to your nearest bus stop. So for the sake of time, I'll, I'll add a fourth one. We talked about traffic downtown, specifically for events. There used to be shuttles that kind of could get you from your kind of like hub spot to the actual event. So lack of like quick modes of transit once you make it downtown, then navigating around that mess of traffic. So yeah, and the soccer stadium too, but events in general. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. All right, we'll go to this group.
Oh no, 2 to 3 things, okay. So I would say the current theme from our list would be that the plan doesn't include everyone. There were discussions as to whether or not it was safe for children, as there are more traffic in our communities, unsafe for pedestrians, the crosswalks are not available, and what's there is not safely planned out. The transportation is currently poorly planned as far as traffic, pedestrian access, cycling, as well as the actual bus lines themselves is not efficient for transport. You often have to travel into the downtown area and then back out because there's no cross-section buses. Those buses do not go out far enough to allow residents to take jobs outside of the city center. And again, because that plan doesn't include workers, it doesn't focus on workers, teens, students, elderly. Currently, it's focused around visitors only, which is not an efficient plan. And safety. Unfortunately, because it doesn't include everyone, it's not heavily used, and it's really focused on the poor. And unfortunately, people feel in danger when they ride. And so if they have other options, they are not taking public transport. And also safety, again, street racing and aggressive driving was listed.
Thank you very much. All right, this group.
Okay, we also talked about lack of sidewalks, really in all areas of town, or the disconnected sidewalks. Pedestrian safety in crossings, didn't feel like, and again, all areas of town. Lack of bus routes in certain areas. McFerrin was one of the communities that was noted that lost some of their routes. Having user-friendly maps online, being able to, if you want to take a bus and you go online, trying to be able to figure out how you do that. And then ADA compliant stops, not all bus stops are in areas that are ADA compliant. If you want to take a bus, we noted that a lot of the bus stops are just trashed. So they need trash cans at all bus stops that are regularly serviced. How about some phone chargers, better lighting, benches, better signage, and so forth. And then Lower Broad should be pedestrian only. And there's just absolute gridlock in downtown after events.
Thank you. All right, last group. Who's going to be our speaker? You are awesome.
I'm not going to repeat anything that's already been said. The only thing that's not on our list that you guys haven't already said was that we need more music City Star. They would like more intervals, but everything else has been said multiple times, so I think we're good.
Awesome. Are you meaning the We Go Star train? The commuter rail We Go Star train. Right. More frequency of trips. Yeah.
I like to say y'all have 4 buses sit out at Walmart every day. Walmart, Charlotte Avenue. You know, you could be picking up people. You know, 4 leave, then 4 come right behind them.
Is there a hub and spoke project that the buses have, or is it all out of one central? Why can't that maybe not be like the planes have?
I'm sorry, it's hard to hear if there's not a mic.
I'm just asking about having a hub and spoke type of project instead of having one central place where all the buses go to. If you have 4 different ones on each corner of the city that the buses can work out of, go back and forth instead of.
If I may, Madeline, that is part of the Better Bus Network plan. It's part of the In Motion strategic plan of WeGo. It's just really comes down to a matter of funding to build those extra transit centers. I'm going to show you a photo in just a minute of a Hillsborough Transit Center that WeGo was able to build, which helps. What you're talking about is the centralized nature of our bus system. Okay, and I'm sorry, Madeline, could you just get back? So what you're asking about is decentralizing that bus system. Okay, that's on the horizon if we can get enough funding to build it. Okay, so we built a Hillsborough Transit Center. There's a North Nashville Transit Center on the way. Ground has been broken. I was there. There is one planned, but it's really far off in the Global Mall. So there are more on the way. It's just a matter of funding and then timing, okay?
And when you speak of funding, how much did the North Nashville Transit Center, how much would that cost?
Boy, I was on that board. I'm on that board. I was at that meeting, but I don't remember. I remember it was
17 million.
Thank you. I was going to say 17 or 18. Yeah. These are not cheap projects, and they take time to build. So for the sake of time, I see that Trinice has a question. Can we ask?
A comment real quick. If more electrical transit was a part of the plan, that's all. I would like that to be like something.
Not today, not yet. Okay, but I do know that there's a question about how we get there in the future, because it's hard to just turn a switch and become an all-electric fleet. Right, but that's going to take some time, yeah.
Like the most routes, just so we can go ahead and start thinking of that, reducing any type of pollution. You know?
Buses cause less pollution than individual cars and light trucks, though.
They are. I just want to compare it.
I'm with you.
And I will say this, and Renuka, she's here. She's Chief Marketing Officer for WeGo. I believe that we burn clean diesel.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Can we hold questions to the end? I want to make sure that we get all of these exercises in, because this is how I'm going to take. This is the messages I'm going to take to those in leadership. Okay. So the next part is I want to give you some ideas about mobility infrastructure, because the next thing you're going to do is you are going to take those pink smiley face tickets. Those are each worth $1. And you are going to be the decision maker spending money on city infrastructure in these buckets. Okay? So I want you to have a good understanding about what those buckets entail. These photos up here, you can see the one on your left. There is a clearly painted crosswalk. It appears to be mid-block. This one is also mid-block. So you don't have to walk all the way down to a corner and then march all the way back to have a safe crossing point. Also, there's a pedestrian island in the center and a sidewalk on the other side. So we got sidewalks, mid-block, pedestrian island. Here, this is what they call a bulb out, and this is good for slowing traffic, right? Also sidewalks involved, okay. This is a greenway on your left. These are examples of protected bike lanes, albeit different levels of protection. These just have the plastic sticks, as people like to call them, and this has a solid concrete blocks running the length, okay? This is a traffic calming tool. It's a roundabout. I'm sure you've seen them. People in Nashville have really mixed feelings about them. Speed humps is another traffic calming tool, and traffic signalization is also part of that traffic control system, okay? Traffic signalization is essentially where we have a kind of a CENTCOM, a central command of all the traffic lights across the city, and someone is there monitoring them and monitoring and managing literally the flow of traffic, right? So they're not just on their own cycling through. If they note a backup somewhere, they can make that light flow faster, change faster, and get traffic moving or keep traffic moving.
Is that a reality today, or is that a hope?
No, we actually did get funding. NDOT does have the foundation of that. It's just in its beginning stages. It's not up and running citywide yet. Okay, so I don't know. We're at the foundational level, so it's happening. It's just getting there. It's in some streets. I know that we have some bus priority signals on Murfreesboro, but I don't know, and I can't say with any certainty that we have an actual traffic signalization manager working to correct or manage flows of traffic just yet, right? That's a little different. So this is mobility infrastructure and transportation modes. So we have our WeGo Star commuter rail, also known as heavy rail. That's going to be long distance, think regional from here to Lebanon, which is where that one goes. This would be a light rail, which we do not have, but that is more intercity. So it would be, from here out to White Ridge or Bellevue, for instance. It's not geared for long-term travel or long-distance travel. This, I don't know if you can see it from where you're sitting, but this is a painted red bus-only lane or transit priority lane. All right, that keeps buses from being stuck in the same traffic as all the cars are stuck in. And then that, of course, would be our WeGo bus. So this was at the ribbon cutting for the North Nashville Transit Shelter that was built through the participatory budgeting process in North Nashville. Transit shelters are mobility infrastructure. It's covered and has a bench, you'll notice there, and a sidewalk. And then this is the Hillsborough Transit Center, the day that facility opened. And that's going to lead me into the next slide, but I want to stay here for just a second because this is a bus transit center on the Hillsborough High School property, and you can see kind of a crosswalk here. You can barely make it out. That goes directly to the mall. So if you were to take the bus here, you would have access to retail and restaurant, shopping, right, and just having a day of it. There's not livable or residences here, so this isn't really a TOD per se, but this would be kind of that next level toward a transit-oriented development or a TOD. And that's what this is, okay? So I'm going to start on the right side this time. I took these photos, and I'm in Miami, Florida, and I'm on their train platform here. You can see it's obviously raised. And so I'm looking out, and they were telling us about what was going on. So this is a public housing building, right here, and I just thought it was, number one, beautiful, but also it's transit-oriented development. It's within a half mile of a transit stop. This was a light rail stop. This is that same light rail. You can see that infrastructure here. The light rail runs up here, but here's a person on a bicycle, because these are bike lanes underneath it. It's called the underbelt. And then buses come here in this roundabout. Also, this here is a park and ride structure. It's parking, and on top of the parking, you can't see it, but are their residences, their apartments. Okay, it looks kind of like this. So, and then this is an extension of what this is. This is on the top part. That's where, up here. And you can see down here is where retail goes, and on the top is where people live. So that is a transit-oriented development. We don't have anything like that in Nashville just yet, but there are conversations about it, and it definitely helps in terms of affordable housing, because in Miami what they've done is they've said any developer who builds this has to build in a minimum of 12% affordable units in those complexes, okay? So there's that. Any questions about any of that infrastructure? Go ahead.
Yeah, I know where that is because I used to live in Miami.
Okay.
And I'm a candidate that's running, and I always advocate that we should have a monorail in 24 in the interstate. And the way the state could pay for it, because they're advocating about changing transit and the way things are working, but we make the money on the park and ride. So people could park at a garage, get on the monorail, and could head down to downtown, but make sure the service is available until 4 in the morning.
Right. Yeah. These are all options, and because Nashville doesn't have any of that yet, the world is in some ways our oyster. So that's what these conversations are trying to kind of crystallize that pearl for us. Okay. So now I need you to take your $10. Okay. Come up here and vote in these buckets. Be sure to go around the table. There's 3 on the back side. Be careful walking. I don't think there's anything for you that you could possibly trip on, but just take a look and spend your money wisely. Ladies and gentlemen, you are the decision maker in this moment on what Nashville will be focusing its funding on. Good luck. Are we having fun spending all this money? Okay, anybody that didn't have tickets can come up and see Madeline. She's made some makeshift tickets for you because we want your vote. For those of you who have already voted, let me talk to you for just a moment. If there are questions that you have that you haven't asked yet, let me know or come over here and write them down, and I'll try to get to them if we have time at the end. Gary has already asked about what did we learn from the failure of the first transit funding referendum. So if there are questions that you've had that you haven't asked yet or that haven't been answered, let me know or go ahead and go write it over here on the notepad. Okay, we have a little less than 30 minutes left. I want to keep going. Thank you for taking part in that. I really appreciate it. I cannot wait to tally up the votes and see what our council has decided to prioritize. This is exciting. Thank you for coming with me on this explanation of transit-oriented development. Also, I appreciate that. I'd love to talk with you more. I love Miami. I've been visiting there for over 20 years. So our next thing is going to be what projects should we be prioritizing? And it's in a different way than what you just did. Okay, what you just did is you just allocated your dollars toward kind of umbrella infrastructure. Was it pedestrian? Was it affordable housing? Was it transit priority corridors? Okay, that's one way to do it. We're gonna get at this a different way right now. And we're gonna go back to our small table discussion, and I want you at your table, again, to elect a scribe, and then you're gonna talk about what kinds of projects we should be prioritizing. And I want you to take what you just did and get a little more specific with it, okay? If you voted with your dollar to fund regional transportation, maybe discuss that at the table, what you meant by that. Were you thinking more commuter rail? Were you thinking more express buses? What does that look like? Did that include big park-in rides? Did that include TOD in Murfreesboro? Right, so let me hear or share that in your small groups. And then we're gonna do what we did a minute ago and report out your top 2 and then go on from there, okay? You have 8 minutes. Hold on. I want to be clear about what this question is getting at, okay? Because I think, again, I don't want there to be any confusion. This list right here is what I'm going to take to the new mayor and say, this is what your communities are saying is critical for Nashville to thrive and survive into the future, and what the residents need to have a high quality of life. So think of it in those terms, okay, if that helps. Because I hear some... some discussion about what these questions are meaning. These are just to help you kind of think about it, the question, because it's a big question. I get it. But this is going to be taken to the new mayor and say, hey, this is community prioritized projects. This is what your community is saying they want you to spend money on. Okay? Does that help? This would be long term. This is where you would look at that light rail. For instance, like I feel so strongly that there should be light rail down, I don't know, Nolensville Pike, right? Or Franklin or Charlotte or whatever, right? So that's what this is longer term, this is big infrastructure projects.
Got 2 minutes left on this one.
Oh, okay. All right, time's up. Now, if I could get one person from each table to give us your top two, think of this as our lightning round because I want to get to some questions. We had some good ones, right, from Gary. So, Councilmember Taylor, do you mind giving us your top two?
We really wanted to prioritize a regional train that connects to different counties around the area. A lot of the traffic that we see in the middle of the day or even on the weekends with sports events or concerts, et cetera, are people from out of the county. And so how can we partner with those counties, the state, to create a regional train or bus system that can have a park and ride space to get people in and out? And then really focusing on the corridors. We noted Hillsborough Pike, Murfreesboro Road, Lebanon Road, and then also we talked about following the interstate, and then lastly, really using bus-only lanes, and then of course light rail and trains.
Thank you so much. All right, this table, what are your top two priority projects?
Gosh, top two, okay. What did you say? Oh yeah, so we also were talking about like prioritizing like some kind of express bus or light rail that connects hubs, I guess, outside of Davidson County. So I guess I'll get a little more specific. We specifically talked about the southeast corridor along I-24. Yeah, cool.
Thank you very much. And if someone's already said your priority, say us two, and then give your other two.
Us two on the light rail. Two of our priorities are local transport that connects to regional transport. Currently, the local transportation goes to nowhere, and it needs to connect to our regional transport. And then one of the items that came up that was a big concern was safety and security. Locals and visitors are not likely to use it if safety is not a priority. One of the things that came up is the main bus terminal itself is not considered safe. And with our current plan, you have to travel from your regional area to the center before you can travel because there's no cross transport and it's not safe.
Thank you. If you don't mind writing down kind of defining not safe. Is it not well lit? Is there wayfinding signs not well marked? Like just kind of give us a little more about what that means. Thank you. This table?
regional, light rail, specifically the I-24 to Murfreesboro corridor, and then secondly, concentrating more on the like the Madison area, because that seems to be a really high density area.
This is great. This is the first time I've heard a lot of regional response, so this is really cool. I hear a lot of southeast and now north. That's kind of cool. And then last table.
S2, and we want park and ride.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for participating in that. Any questions about this before we move on? Because I want to wrap this up and get your questions answered.
Are you surprised by any of our responses, or is there something that you wanted us to mention and like that you would prefer to see? I'm curious because like you see more of the problem areas and what's working, and maybe is there anything that you're like, huh, I'm surprised no one mentioned this.
Not yet. No. And you're not, you are right in line with the other meetings that we've held and hosted. The comments, the projects, their priorities so far have been right there, honestly. Yeah, so nothing new. Yeah.
So something I didn't see in the bucket up there that I thought about, that maybe it's just again is coordination with the planning and zoning areas, so that their infrastructure can support what's already being developed. I don't know, that doesn't seem to be happening. There's no connection there.
Okay, noted. Yes, so that is new. We haven't heard that yet, but so appreciate that, the coordination piece. Thank you for that. I want to jump over to the board. So the first question I got was from Gary, and he asked, what did we learn from the failure of the Let's Move Nashville referendum May 1st, 2018? Before I take a dip into that, anybody else have a quick comment about what contributed to the failure of Let's Move Nashville? Okay.
I think that the biggest part of that, because I remember that quite well, is that
people were idealistic as opposed to like pragmatic and realistic. And what I mean by that is they were thinking, people were making or having opinions who had never been in a city where there was a mass transit system. Like, you can't just say, oh, I want to turn this pumpkin into a coach. It doesn't work like that. Like, there wasn't enough educational background into how mass transit works. If you've never lived in a city where there's mass transit and you've never taken mass transit, you don't have the idea of necessarily of how that works. And I think that that's what, and there was no one to explain it. Like, no one understood. So people were just like, I just don't want this to go down my street. It's got to go down some street. You know what I'm saying? That just didn't make, you know.
Thank you, yes. I think that was just upvoted. Okay, one more.
Just going along with that, like, the Megan Barry scandal broke at the same time too, that was all getting voted on. My boyfriend, he builds light rails. He built one in Denver, and he works on projects in LA. And he talks about, developers will pay for the stops, and then projects will come of like housing and stuff around the stops later in life. And so you really just have to think about getting started instead of looking at a huge budget.
No, you're exactly right, and that's something that I think since that we've been thinking about in the issue area in the industry is like, how do we get a proof of concept on the ground? Because to her point, and I don't know her name, I'm sorry about that, but what is your name, Claudia? People don't know what to expect because it is such an unknown. We've never really adequately funded public transit in Nashville, so we don't have this mega super duper robust 24/7 frequent system yet. Renuka, I'm looking at you. But we also at one point never had a greenway. All right, and a council member, came back from a trip and said, Nashville needs a greenway. And Do you know what happened when he proposed that we build a greenway system? Immense public backlash. Absolutely not. We are not spending public dollars on that. I don't want people coming into my neighborhood through a greenway. Now today, that seems absolutely ludicrous that someone would stand up and be against a greenway. Because today, guess how many miles of greenways we have in Nashville? 100. Do you know how they got that ball rolling? They got one short little greenway stretch because there was a small group of committed community members that kept going out and having meetings with their peers, having meetings like this one, bringing the value of a greenway to their neighbors, and they finally got one built, and then what happened? People loved it and was like, I want one. When does my neighborhood get one? When do I get one near my house? All right? It's sometimes a little bit of a chicken and the egg. Like we just need that proof of concept on the ground so people can get that look, feel, and taste of what a true, like, frequent, reliable, usable mass transit system really is. And notice I say system. We have an excellent transit system. WeGo does a great job. We have 7 frequent routes right now, right? We have one that's coming every 10 minutes or fewer. Like we're doing so good with what we have, but we need funding to have a transformative mobility infrastructure moment, all right? And right now we don't have that funding. So I'm at a crossroads here. So do I go into funding and how we get it? Can I tell you how we get funding? I have never seen so many people pumped about learning how to fund transit. This is fabulous. Okay, how we fund transit is we go to a referendum, and that was gifted to us in July of 2017 by the state legislature when they passed the Improve Act. Before that day, we had to take it to the state legislature and let the House and the Senate tell us whether or not we could dedicate funding to transit in Nashville or any municipality and county in the state. Okay, Improve Act changed that. Okay, now we get to take it to our local voters. When? That's great. Okay, but it also came with a very prescriptive way we have to do it. We have to have a flushed out enough plan with this quarter is going to have light rail, this quarter is going to be commuter rail, this quarter is going to be transit priority, bike lane, this, that, whatever. So we have to price it out, and then we have to look at the available taxes that Improve Act allows us to tap. It's not a free-for-all. It is sales tax, hotel motel tax, business tax, wheel tax, rental car tax, and one other tax I always forget. But is it electric? No, it's not electric cars. No, it's not that either. This was in 2017, so it was before all that. Okay, but those are the only taxes we can access in order to dedicate funding for transit. That's it, and they all have caps. And I don't want to have to tell you this, but we're very close to the caps already. Okay. And what that does, we say, okay, this is our plan of projects. This is how we think we're going to pay for it. Our state comptroller then has to come and look at all of those costs and those potential revenues, and then that person will say, okay, this I approve. This you can take to the referendum and to the ballot. All right, that's why we need enough of a plan of projects flushed out so we can get the funding. That's why I'm calling it the transit funding referendum. It's not necessarily going to be exactly how it is drawn out, but it's enough of a design and concept that we know that what we're going to pay for. Does that make sense? So that's what we have to do. That is the process. Right? So that's how we get dedicated funding for transit. We could. I mean, it's available to us. Do you want to know why we're not getting any? Okay, there's different types of funding from the federal government. There's allocated funding, which comes down based on our population size and vehicle miles traveled and some crazy 3-page long algorithm that the federal government has created, right? That's okay, based on Nashville, we are automatically going to give them this many millions of dollars. All right. Our TDOT gets $1 billion every year from the Federal Highway Administration, FHWA. FTA, which is where you're talking about, I think is what you're getting at. They're the ones that fund light rail builds and transit centers and all of this stuff that we're needing. All right. Those grants are not allocated. They are competitive grants. All right. And to get a federal competitive grant, we have to bring a local match. All right? So let me give you, I'm gonna see if you can fill in the blanks. On an annual basis, last year, for instance, WeGo got $50 million for operations and maintenance from the city. Okay? And $30 million for capital spending. Okay? A transit priority lane from downtown to the airport is going to cost roughly $400 million to build. Okay? If our local match is 20 to 30% of that, do you think that we could afford to pay for that build without any extra funding coming from somewhere locally? No. We can't. And that's why we cannot count or just assume that these infrastructures are going to happen and materialize. That's why we need that dedicated funding stream, because other cities already have it. We are the last city of our size without it, and they're getting that infrastructure money because they have a way to pay for it. Okay, how much time do I, wait, how much time do I have? Okay, one more question and I will send you on your way. You can contact me. I'm sure you can get my information. I have cards. Come see me. I'm happy to talk about this offline. Ashley?
It's maybe a hot question, but I'm curious your opinion. If we pass the proposed deal to fund this Titan Stadium with the hotel motel tax, will that make it even harder for us to do this, which is already proving to be hard? Is it going to be harder and decrease our ability to get that?
Okay, someone's paying attention to what I just said, because it's the hotel motel tax is one of the taxes in the Approve Act to allot to dedicated funding for transit. Okay, what's happening on the East Bank is they're taking a 1% hotel motel tax for the East Bank and Titan Stadium. Okay, what that does is it does obviously take that percent that we could have for transit out of the equation, but the cap is still there, and there's 1% more left after that one. Well, it'll be capped out. There's only 1% more before our hotel motel percent tax will be capped, right? But there's still 1% left. All right. Thank you all so much. You are brilliant rock stars for talking and having this conversation about transit on your Saturday morning.
Real quick, we are doing multiple of these sessions, and after each one, we take all of your responses that you so generously gave to us, and we collate them into a document, and we try to share them out with everyone. So if you can, write your emails on your little Post-its, and we will send that out to you and keep you updated on the next sessions. So you can come and talk and invite your friends. We want to hear from everyone. So, yes, thank you.